Let me start by saying this. Nothing, and I mean nothing, excites our first speaker than talking numbers. The ins, the outs, the profit and the losses, and the forecasting particularly. Running your eyes over the numbers is something that he does daily. It provides him clarity, and ultimately he's created a well-run business. First up for day 2, give it up for Manos. Thanks, buddy.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. First of all, thank you so much for making the time to come. We understand how busy our lives are, but this is a leadership day. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly of leadership, because as we know, as leaders in the room, it's certainly not always great. And sometimes we see a lot of things that a lot of people are going to come up on stage and they're going to share their successes and so forth, but behind every single success, there is a lot of pain, a lot of guts, a lot of determination, a lot of it's all in, and sometimes it's hidden. So always remember that. The first thing, also from yesterday, how well prepared is our industry for tomorrow with the young talent that we saw up on stage? Absolutely incredible. Sarah Savio, the Young Guns panel, Bailey, Tara, and Jazzy, how inspiring were they? Seriously, I think the industry is in absolutely good hands. And us, obviously, coming to a career that, sometimes we're going to hand over the baton. I don't know when I will, but anyway, we're all thinking about handing over the baton. There'll be a lot of discussions on that today as well. But what a great example of also all of us, our responsibility to be guiding the young ones to make sure that they are really well prepared to learn from the challenges that we've had in business. Okay, now today's session is not about Excel spreadsheets, although a lot of the numbers will come up. It's about the 3 profit centres of your business, and more importantly, having a strategy to have your business Alan Bond ready. And I'll talk about that. That will be on my second last slide for today. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm just going to give you an overview of what we'll be covering in the next 12 months, especially in the leadership programs and the membership. Okay, as business owners, we know that we work in a world of absolute chaos. And we call it organised chaos. We're going in all directions. How do we structure our business to make sure that it all follows the one line? So every team member is following in the same direction. And as business owners, that is the biggest challenge. How do we get everyone aligned and moving in the same direction? Who would agree? Yeah? Turn to the person next to you and say, one part of your business that you know is a little bit in chaos and you want to get it all in the same direction. Turn to the person next to you and just say, and mention a point. What part of it? Did I hear someone say all of it? What are some takeaways? Who wants to put their hand up and say, hey, I need help over here? Carol? If we can get a microphone over to Carol, please, guys.
For me, I think my social media needs a lot of work.
Social media?
I've got it and it's set up, but to me it's boring. So if it's boring me, it's got to bore everybody else.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I think that's a real valid question. So Carol was saying that I need to get my social media in place, and I think it's boring. And I think sometimes, and it's a very valid question, it's great to get a second eyes looking at your social media, but sometimes I think we get bored of it because we see it every day. We need to also remember our clientele, our target market is not always seeing our social media, and also by changing it too often, it may be detrimental.
Good.
Maybe detrimental, so maybe that challenge is actually not that much of a challenge. It may be a challenge in our perception of social media. And one thing that I've learned, and we do a lot of work with Justin Martin, and Justin Martin is responsible for the Black Soul branding, whilst he did 10% of the initial design. Our graphics team did the 90%, and it's incredible. And one thing we've learned from Justin Martin is you've got to allow your brand to breathe. And you've got to give your brand time to resonate. Changing it all the time is not a great idea. And we've learned it personally the hard way, 21 years in business. So, anything else? Anyone else have challenges in their business that it's all organised chaos and they want to move the whole team in the same direction? One more. All good? Yes, Mark. Oh, sorry, Christine. Sorry, I didn't.
Mark Campbell, Presence Real Estate. So after about 20 years in business as well, when we've gotten to scale and multiple branches and lots of different teams, we've been very accommodating with lots of different commission structures across super teams, EBUs, individual agents, people coming on, transitioning. And that plays out in the finance side of things, not so much about whether you're making or losing money, about tracking every little nuance of a deal that can change and when someone escalates. So I've been on that for 18 months now, like as a project with the team that do that, and we're just starting to see the sunlight now, but it had to be dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a program called the Stellar program that we're working on to help in the management of numbers. And one thing I know about numbers is, as Arthur mentioned in regards to profit and loss and so forth, if you are waiting for your accountant to tell you you're in profit as a business owner, you're friggin' in trouble. You're absolutely in trouble. If you have to wait for the reports from your accountant to tell you you're in profit, you're in trouble. We work on a premise that we need to be, as soon as we get to the break-even point, and hopefully that's halfway through the month, and then halfway after the month, that's what we call dollar for dollar. Christine, you?
I think one of the difficulties is, in the spirit of chaos, is you start the day thinking you're going to go in one direction, and this little baby takes you somewhere else. And if your team's all ready to go in one, and you're like, I've got to put a deal together, oh my God, that I find incredibly hard. Yeah,
it is. And hence why the term, it's organised chaos. Because as I mentioned yesterday, I don't think we're ever going to eliminate chaos. I think we need to embrace it. But it's how do we manage the team to go all in the one direction, okay? And how we build our team. So, okay, moving forward. So we're going to be talking about one question. Here's a question I posed to, we were at Rise conference a few weeks ago with Maddie LaHood as well. And welcome as well today, Matt. Thank you so much for giving of your time today. I really appreciate it, sharing it with the team. But the question we posed to Dane and to Stathopoulos up on stage was, what would your business need to look like if you made the decision to be in it for the rest of your life? And it's a bit of a profound question. The answer to that question tells you a lot about where you want to take your business and how you really should structure it. What would your business need to look like if you made the decision to be in it for the rest of your life? Really think about it. Who do you want to work with? What type of size of business you want? What systems you want in place? If you want to be taking holidays, and we had some fantastic presenters yesterday talking about how they structure their business so they can have their 2-3 months off every year, and which is kind of unheard of in real estate, or we think it's unheard of, but actually if you plan for it, you'll have it. So what would your business need to look like? Really think about that question. So let's just talk about the 3 profits. We'll talk about benchmarking first. Okay, I always like to start people to give them a baseline of how do I compare to the industry average? How do I compare? Am I doing really well? Am I needing to do more? How do I compare? And this is the industry benchmark for real estate as per Macquarie report last year. And it said they surveyed 431 respondents. The average revenue of these businesses was 4.21 million in GCI. 48% of the revenue came from property management, 52% came from sales. The average profit of these industry averages was 626,000 K. Average rent roll size, 872, average sales numbers, 178. It's quite profound when we look at these figures as a benchmark. One thing I've learned, and yesterday in my presentation I talked about the law of probability, the law of averages, and so forth. And when you look at this, it will give you a pretty good guide, because as we said yesterday, we all have access to what? The same ingredients. It's how we put them together will make the huge difference. Now, there is a correlation between leadership and profit. Huge. How you operate your business, whether you operate in code red. One of my biggest frustrations, well, not frustrations, surprises when you hear on the news, XYZ company just retrenched 1,000 people, or 500 people, or 100 people, whatever the size, and I think overnight. And I'm thinking, how can they do that? How's their business functioning? Like, what were they doing there for them to eliminate so many people, for them to still be operational? So why aren't they operating in what I call code red? Your business should be always operate. Why wait for challenges to come, or when things get tight, to be operating what we call code red and have so much fat in our businesses? So again, we need to be looking at our businesses, always looking at our bottom line, always looking at our break-even point, always looking at our fixed expenses. No one else should be paying your bills except yourself. I hate to say it, as business owners, every invoice should be coming through your... I'm not saying you should physically go in there and pay for it and stuff like that and do the banking push of the button, but you need to be reviewing all your invoices. It should be part of your task as leaders. That's the reality. So, biggest challenge at the moment is, and again, the 80-20 rule in regards to who's doing exceptionally well and who's not doing all that well is when you look at the outliers. I call them the outliers, some defining traits. The outliers have 15.3 versus 23.6 in headcounts, lower sales volumes, but more sales per agent, more properties under management for property management, and higher property management commission. So the best of the best always do it a little bit differently. And we need to be learning from these. And we're going to hear some amazing speakers today about how to get more profit out of your business. Okay, so there are 3 profit centres, and I'll always split up our revenue streams for our businesses into 3 areas. The sales agents, the property management, and what we call the director's EBU. A lot of people have been talking about EBUs and forming EBUs within your teams, which is critical. But as business owners, and especially those business owners that are selling principals, we need to start talking about the director's EBU. And it is quite different to the sales agent's EBU. And then, of course, affiliate programs, which we're not going to go into a slide, but affiliate programs, referrals, connections. I mean, Moving Hub pays for so much of our staff functions, because Moving Hub is our connections. Where's Moving Hub in the room? There you go, Chris. How are we? And I know there's other providers, but these guys are the best. Mortgage brokers, conveyancers, Amex Points, other. You need to, whilst it's not a significant amount, it actually does pay for great holidays, and obviously pays for a lot of your incidentals with your staff, especially if you've got high volumes. It is significant. But let's just talk about the sales agent profit centre. And I'll just summarise that. Now, the way I believe people should evaluate their businesses is every single agent is a single profit centre for your business. And you need to monitor it individually, not combined. So if you've got 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 sales agents, each individual agent should be classed as a profit centre. And then, of course, we have different varying splits and so forth, depending on the volumes that they do and the team size and the support they require. So you need to be monitoring each individual sales agent to say, okay, this sales agent pulled in $300, $400, $500, $1 million. How much revenue is left in my business at the end of the year from this one particular person? And you need to look at it from a dollar perspective. And of course, I can make any Excel spreadsheet look sexy. And this is a basic, how do you make $1 million building a sales team? And this is how simple it is on an Excel spreadsheet. You have 12 sales agents on a 50-50 split, writing 300,000 GCI each, which is just above the average industry. You'll do 3.6 million in revenue. Your gross revenue is 1.8. Your sales business expenses is probably around 20% of annual revenue, 720,000. Your net revenue profit's $1 million. The industry average is about 15%, which works out to 360 to 540K. That's significant to see that difference. To see that difference there, please, Mark, if we can have a...
I was going to use the charity auctioneer's voice. So with this, Manos, 12 field agents, which aren't the director's EBU.
Aren't director's EBU.
So is the director taking a salary or a commission split or just dividend on this model?
Just the dividend.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's no right or wrong, because the way I look at it as well, someone asked me that, another guy said, well, one director will take 150, 200,000 salary, and then one director says, I need 500,000 to live. And then their bottom line looks totally different, but you're taking a salary of 500,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you've got to look.
There's a fair day's work for a fair day's pay in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can put it in personally as well. Like you can look at that and say, okay, how much do I have to put in there?
Yeah, just clarifying.
But at $1,080,000, so our business runs with 13 sales agents, and our profit, we're doing around $4 million in revenue for our EBU Frankston. That's bringing in about $800,000 in profit for us. So for our sales business, okay? But there is a reality check. As I said, you can make any Excel spreadsheet look sexy, but pures come into the equation. And pures are a term that I learnt from our good friend at Fletcher's, Bradley Brown. Pure stands for previously undetected recruitment errors. Pures. Sorry. It's, yeah, so we all have them. Who hasn't had one? Okay, so we all have them. It's just part of running a business. So whilst we can make Excel spreadsheets look great and the numbers look great, we're talking about EQ, and that's not the reality. Okay, so profit centre, property management, like it's the hero of our businesses. There is no question. It's the hero of real estate, and everyone the big talk at the moment is mergers, the big talk is acquisitions, and how do we get that profitability, and it's a really, really interesting space that we're in at the moment. So we know when you first start your business, it's zero to negative gain initially, unless you acquire, okay? We know scalability really, really matters. But I've seen some businesses that run 200, 300, 400 properties, and they're making 50+% profit out of their businesses. Absolutely incredible. So again, it comes back down to leadership and how you run them. Outsource, 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 and there's a common theme at the moment. And outsource is not directly related to, for example, virtual assistants as per Wingman, right? And overseas and the Philippines. Outsource is your third-party suppliers. And whilst Beyond Figures Bookkeeping and my admin partner is our businesses, we outsource all our trust accounting and our bookkeeping to these service providers that support other agencies as well. And as I said, disclaimer, we're owners of that. Okay, database, property managers. So the new, and I won't steal Jonathan's presentation a little bit later on, which is going to be absolutely incredible, is remote assistance for each property manager. So each senior property manager now, I think, needs to be buddied up with a remote assistant. I think that is the future of property management. Database, often the most untapped resource of agency practice. Growth needs to be deliberate and a reason to grow a sales team. So there's an extra benefit of growing a sales team, is growing the rent roll. Acquisition and mergers, as we mentioned. But it's the core value of our business, but there is a change coming. There is a change coming. I'll talk about it when I talk to you about is your business Alan Bond ready? Okay, profit centre, directors EBU, which is the real change that's coming into the industry, I believe. It is the incredible profit and lifestyle centre. Hire. Now, this is the challenge. The traditional thought of bringing in EBUs, especially if you're a selling principal, is to bring in young people underneath you, train them up, and then go out to be sales agents. I think that's fantastic. However, I don't think that's entirely sustainable. And I think we need to be a little bit selfish as leaders and protecting your business. And we need to start thinking Directors EBU. And Directors EBU is building a team that does not want to become sales agents or going out on their own. We need to be building a team. When you hire, as soon as you ask that one question, say, do you plan on becoming a sales agent? And if they say yes, I'm not saying don't put them on, but don't add them to your EBU. Start training them as a sales agent and have an addition to your EBU. You need to build an EBU that's going to be with you with the long term, 5, 6, 10 years, 20 years. That's where lifestyle comes into it. That's where you're able to take holidays. That's where you're able to have a sustainable, and it becomes part of your client engagement strategy. Everything falls into place when that happens. Of course, the wider you grow your team, the more you outsource, the more profit and sustainable it will become. It is pure. So we're seeing incredibly sized directors EBU, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Doesn't matter. But outsource as much of the processes as possible. Okay, is your business, second last slide, is your business Alan Bond ready? What does that mean? Who recalls Alan Bond back in the 80s, 90s? The Cup winner, the America's Cup winner. Incredible, obviously, journey through that, and obviously a bit of a slide in regards to reputation and so forth thereafter. But that's not what it's about. If you recall, Alan Bond tapped on Kerry Packer's shoulder and gave him $1 billion for Channel 9. Who remembers that? You got tapped on the shoulder and said, I want to buy Channel 9 from you for $1 billion. And it was Kerry Packer's baby, obviously. And what did Kerry Packer do? He sold it. Why? Because his business was Alan Bond ready. Someone tapped him on the shoulder and gave him an incredible amount of money for his business, and he was able to exit, and then, of course, as we know, he repurchased it. Yeah. But I want you to think, a lot of people start thinking about selling their businesses, and then they start getting emotions into place to get all their files, all their database, all their employment agreements ready, all their aspects of their business ready, so that when you get the tap on the shoulder, not the tap on the shoulder, the time to think that you're selling, you're making the decision to sell, that you prepare your business to sell. It's like a vendor that we go to sell their home, and what do? They prepare their home, and they make it, they do all the styling, they do all the repairs and so forth, and then they go far out. It's beautiful now to sell. We don't really want to sell it. Why aren't you experiencing that joy of a perfect styled home, perfect styled business, and experiencing that, and make sure that you're Alan Bond ready? I hope that makes sense. And last one. Have a mantra for your business. And our mantra, we talked about visions, we talked about values, we talk about our vision, mission, values, but we've changed ours to our mantra. And our mantra is, we do great work with great people. And just like yesterday, everyone had a theme for their business. Find your theme, find your values, what it represents to you, and that way you're going to attract your tribe. Awesome. Thank you, team. Thank you for today. And I'll hand you over